Yeah.
Yeah, just have at it.
Well, I mean, let's start fresh and
Start
start. I
fresh.
don't know. Start. We can work up to that point.
Okay. All right.
So,
Rob Davis,
yes, sir. That's me.
welcome to the first podcast in this room ever.
Glad to be here.
Probably the first one ever that's been done in here.
Yeah.
Are you excited?
I'm yeah excited, a little nervous. I'm ready for it. This is my first ever podcast. So,
Well, welcome.
thank you.
What do you think about podcasts?
I listen to him all the time. I listened to Joe Rogan on my way back up to
Okay.
Boone.
Who was it?
It was Big J Ogerson. So,
Oh
they were
yeah.
getting into some degeneracy and just talking about all kinds of crazy stuff. But
Did you see his crowd work special he just put out?
which one, he's coming out with one. I thought it was like 420, the they them podcast
Yeah.
or the
But one's already came out.
oh hell,
The they or the them.
one of
One
the one
of
of
it.
them's. Yes. Yeah, I don't know. I like I like that he works crowds and it's just like off the cuff.
Yeah.
It's not like written jokes. It's just like right off his brain. And just as things arise, I think
Hmm.
that truly makes a genius.
Yeah, and he's actually like good at it. There's a
Yeah.
lot of guys that do crowd work. So
He can handle the hecklers too.
I haven't seen him do the hecklers, but I bet he can.
Yeah.
I bet he can for sure.
Yeah.
He goes on some absolutely crazy tangents.
Yeah, he does.
Oh my goodness, dude.
Nothing's off limits in comedy in my thoughts, but
I agree.
yeah.
What do you think about people that I don't know if they're scared of comedy or if they're scared to laugh, but they're trying to be like, you can't joke about that.
I think everything's on the table.
Okay.
But I was raised to where it's just I was raised in a really loose household. Like
Okay.
my dad didn't really hold back. I lived with plumber and my mom also doesn't really hold back very much either. So anything's really on the table to be discussed.
Were they funny?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
My dad,
Okay.
my dad was the kind of guy who would like bullshit with a cashier, and
Okay.
I picked up that.
Yeah.
So
You
like
do have that.
I'll like walk into a grocery store and they'll be like, "How are you doing?" And I'll be like, "Man, I just hiked 6 freaking
Yeah.
miles. What'd you do today?" And they're like, "I'm here." And I tell them everything
Yeah.
because it's like, how many times am I going to go to your lane? You know? And I mean, I've got my little Ingles Angels. uh,
What?
my Ingles Angels.
Oh, okay.
So like I shop at Ingles right now, and like my little cashier ladies, I joke around. They're like, "You want a paper bag or you want plastic?" And I'm like, "Give me the plastic. It's not Earth Day.
Mhm.
Somebody else can save the world. I'm not trying to have my Frank's Red Hot bust open on the stairs, buddy. I'm not. I don't want to have to chase. I live on the third floor of an apartment currently, and I'm not trying to chase my food down the
Oh,
stairs because I tried to. You know, I recycle my bags. I got a cat, so
okay.
I use those bags and recycle them to, handle their waste. But
Okay.
but it's
How noble of you.
yeah, yeah. That's how I save the earth. I don't have anywhere else I'd put it, other than buying more trash bags. But
Yeah. I use them for like the little bathroom trash cans,
I do
like
that
the
too.
little grocery bag for
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah,
They're useful.
yeah. No, no
Yeah.
kidding. But yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, I had a person at the place I work at. Uh, I work at a restaurant.
Uh-huh.
You know that. And they had some leftovers.
Uh-huh.
And I saw them wrapping it up in like the paper that the food is served on. And I was like, "Would you like a to-go box?" And they said, "No, we're protecting the environment."
Yeah.
And I was like, "All right, good job. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, dude. You're doing your
Thank
service.
God,
Yeah.
dude. You
Hey,
saved."
thank God we live in the mountains,
Yeah.
man. It's just like, yeah. I
Like
mean,
that.
sometimes, dude, I'll ask for a real straw so that I can like harm a sea turtle.
Yeah.
But there's no sea turtles up here.
Screw those.
We live like 6 hours from the beach. They
Yeah.
know I'm not being serious. That's the level of messing with cashiers that I think I picked up from my dad. Is
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm gonna go use a straw on a sea turtle in the mountains.
I'm gonna
And they're
find
just
the
like,
next turtle and just shove
but
this down
it
his
works.
throat.
They remember me. They remember
That's
me at
true.
the gas station or wherever I'm at. They
Yeah,
remember who I am.
that's a turtle killer.
Shit.
Yeah. I do hate turtles.
I love turtles, dude. I had a chameleon in my dorm. I smuggled it in.
That's not a turtle.
No, it's not a turtle, but I love reptiles.
Okay.
I don't have one currently. I got a cat, but
Mm.
I smuggled a chameleon into my dorm when I was a freshman at App.
Whoa.
Yeah, I just put that cage under a blanket and just like
Wow.
kept a chameleon in there.
I
She
didn't.
died of old age. Her name was Charlotte, and I buried her in the flowers up next to the App State sign. So like,
Wow.
yeah, it was like 9 o'clock on a February night, chilly. I was working for a GC, and they were like, I was like, please bring me a shovel. My chameleon just died. I'd just gotten back from like a little vacation,
Mhm.
and so they live like 4 to 5 years, and she aged out. And I called the company that I worked for and was like, can I borrow a shovel? I live in the dorm. It's not like I have my own
Yeah.
tools at that point. And they brought me a shovel, and we had like a service with like my ex-girlfriend there, like a burial service. I was sobbing.
Dang, dude, really?
And we buried her in the flower bed up near Mountaineer Hall.
Damn, is that your favorite pet ever?
Sometimes, no, no. But sometimes I go sit there and I'll just like think. It's one of the spots on campus that I'll go and sit and think. Just be
Nice.
like remembrance, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like you need a spot like that.
Just somewhere to find some clarity,
Yeah.
some peace.
Have you been there lately?
Like 2 months ago, but it was cold, so I only sat there for 5 minutes.
Fair. Is that enough thinking? Yeah, I got it figured
I
out.
can I can go home and think at this point. But yeah, now that it's getting warm, I need to go pay some respects. And
Yeah.
she was a great pet, dude. I'd ride around with her on my shoulder in the Miata.
Oh, nice.
The
Little
yeah,
Charlotte.
old
Yeah, dude.
yeah,
I've only had two pets. Both of them were my boys.
yeah,
Loved them. I had a dog for 15 or 16 years and a cat for the same length.
yeah.
So from like elementary school until I graduated high school, and a little bit longer than that.
Were they best buds?
No,
Oh
no.
yeah,
My dog was like, I mean, they were both outside animals. Uh, but my dog pretty much killed the first cat we had,
oh
him and his
god,
sister. Yeah,
yikes,
like it
dude.
like they broke like
Uh-oh.
both of its back legs, and they're like, we can do the surgery. It's gonna be
Did
thousands
you
of
call the
dollars.
cat Scooter from that point because it just scooted across the grass or what?
We just called it and said goodbye because it
Oh
didn't last much longer.
yeah, you said this one's getting
Yeah.
injected.
So then we just didn't let her. The cat, new cat, see the dog. Um, You learned that lesson.
Mm,
Yeah.
we keep that one hidden.
Yeah, dude.
It's like the cousin in the attic, the old adage.
Oh, you
And
got one of those too?
no, dude. No, but man, dude, when I lived in Arkansas, we had a pretty sweet upstairs area. So,
You grew up in Arkansas?
well, I was born in Memphis, Tennessee, and we lived there for about 2 years. My mom was in pharmacy school, and my dad was a plumber. So both P occupations, and then my dad got convinced by my mom to move from Memphis to Knoxville, and then eventually go to University of Tennessee. Go Vols. My dad started as an engineering major, and then like life took over. When you got a kid in college and like have to work, and he ended up switching to logistics, and so I spent 8 years in Knoxville. My parents got divorced when I was 10, and I'd say that was probably one of the biggest factors in my upbringing was my parents' divorce. And my dad eventually got custody of me, and we moved to Arkansas. He got a job working for Walmart corporate in Bentonville, and um, I kind of grew up in Bentonville, I'd say.
What was that like? Like growing up with a divorced parent?
A lot of adversity. It was just weird because like my dad would work late hours. So I learned how to cook because I've got a little sister, and she'd be like, I'm hungry. So I would cook for her, and that eventually paid off. And
Yeah. You got tired of making them PBJs. You're like, we got to eat something.
yeah, we got to eat something other than like a can of tuna with
Yeah.
saltines.
We're better than this.
Yeah. So I got a cookbook when I was like 11 for Christmas, and it was a Cajun cookbook. My dad's allergic to poultry, so I started cooking my dad a ton of seafood. Like he'd go buy a ton of seafood, and I'd be the one cooking dinner every night after class. And like it's like sixth and seventh grade, and I'm like coming home from work and like doing laundry and homework and doing laundry and homework and like cooking dinner and like at the time that happened, I felt like I was kind of like a housewife. But
You remember thinking that?
yeah,
Like at that age,
yeah,
really?
I was just like, God, I feel like I'm just like kind of kind of like a housewife. But I mean, I knew I was doing it for the good of my family.
Okay.
And because I didn't want to hear my sister, being like, I'm hungry. But then at the same breath, it's like, in a normal family, it's like you've got somebody cooking for you and like the normal upbringing
Yeah.
type stuff. And eventually it paid off. When I got a job, my first job when I was 16, and worked at Captain D's for 3 months and left because I mean, I had like a summer flame that just burnt out.
Mhm.
And I left that job and worked in the restaurant industry for probably about another year. And then I signed up for construction management at our high school. We had where you could like defer your last year to like occupational training. So I switched out of like the traditional high school program and entered into the occupational one where I was studying construction management
Yeah.
in high school. And that comes back in a little later. Um, but I was a cabinet manufacturer and installer, and for about a year, and I was pretty unhappy with that job because I knew there was like not really much upward progression there, and it happened to be like around Thanksgiving, and instead of cooking a turkey, because my dad's poultry allergy, we would make like a shrimp creole or like a gumbo, like a vat of
Mm,
like some
yeah.
good Cajun food. We walked into this new seafood market, and my dad was like, my son can cook the hell out of some seafood. And
And you're how
we
old at
got
this
to
point?
18, and I was about to graduate, like, in a couple of months. I was about to graduate from high school, and we, I guess, talked this guy up to the point where he was like, let's see what you've got. And he took us back into the back of the restaurant, like the seafood market. And he had a brand new kitchen back there. And in this kitchen was like brand new stainless steel fryers, never been used. And I knew kind of the ins and outs of a restaurant from like 2 years of experience, or about 2 years of experience in the restaurants, other than the cabinet manufacturing. And um, I knew my way around the kitchen at home, and I knew how to upsize those recipes. Well, he was like, come in and cook for my family. And if you impress us, you need to bring in a laminated menu, like an example demo menu, and you need to come in and cook me a 3-course meal
What?
for me and my family. So I did. I did cheat on it a little bit. I'm not a baker.
Okay.
I went to Walmart and bought a triple chocolate cake
Okay.
in one of those cake pans.
You
And I
did.
put it in one of those like cake pans with the click sides. And I came in and made fried pickle spears with homemade remoulade. I made a shrimp and crawfish étouffée. And
I don't know what
blew,
half of those words mean.
I blew them out of the water, and they hired me on the spot. So then I'm like, okay, I'm in charge of a restaurant. At 18 years old, I hired a ton of my football buddies to run the kitchen, and their girlfriends were like the wait staff. Man, I
So
could.
you like fully staffed the restaurant? They
Oh
weren't
yeah,
already ready?
yeah. No, it was him. His uncle ran the market side
Okay.
6 days a week, and his mom ran the accounting for everything. And he was a burn victim. Like his family owned 7 boats out of the port of Houston,
Okay.
and they'd fish the Gulf of Mexico for like shrimp and like all of their seafood. So every 2 weeks, we drive down to Houston with a refrigerated truck and bring back fresh seafood to Arkansas, to Bentonville, essentially.
Dang,
It was
dude.
in Rogers, Arkansas, but dang near Bentonville. And we would just like keep restocking off of the boats because the boats would come into port and we'd empty one, but there'd still be like 5 out there. How he got the money to open the restaurant though was a cat diesel technician didn't fully check everything off of the checklist.
Okay.
They went out into the Gulf of Mexico and the boat exploded. And he looked like, like a basketball net, how it's got the weaving.
Yeah.
His skin looked like that from the skin grafts.
Oh yeah.
So this guy, I mean, he was pretty messed up. And the only thing that he would do at the restaurant, sit in his office and he would smoke pot and like drink Corona. And like
All
he would
day.
he would call the gas station down the street and be like, I'm about to send my employee to buy me some beer. I'm like 18. And they'd sell me the beer to bring to him.
Dang on,
Yeah.
dude.
This one time, dude, Alice Walton,
Arkansas is a wild place.
that's the populated part of Arkansas. That's not the rice paddy part of
A lot of
Arkansas either.
people.
That's not BFE. But this one time, man, I mean, we were like Walmart corporate was like maybe 10 minutes away. Alice Walton came in, left a $200 tip for some of my gumbo at 18.
Nuh-uh.
18. And the only reason that I ended up leaving that job is because I thought about my future. I didn't want to. I was at that point, I was also smoking a lot of weed, like I was low key selling this guy weed. And like it wasn't, I was selling the owner of the restaurant weed, and I didn't want to like do that anymore.
You
And
didn't want to sell weed or you didn't want to cook.
I didn't want to both.
Yeah.
So it took the fun out of cooking
Yeah.
for sure. But I didn't want that for my future wife and kids. Like I wanted
Mm.
to have my nights and weekends off. So, and I was working like all day, every day.
Oh yeah, you in a
I was
restaurant.
overseeing everything.
Yeah.
I was all day, every day. And I wanted my nights and weekends for my future family. And I've always been good with my hands. Everything that I've done has come from my hands. It's I've been a head chef, I do construction, and I'm a musician. Everything comes from my hands. So with that being said, I was like, what am I going to do now? I was a cabinet manufacturer and installer. I grew up with a plumber. My dad's a plumber. I swore I'd never be a plumber
Yeah.
either, too.
Never be your dad.
I was like,
You
man,
know?
I don't want to be a plumber, man.
Yeah.
I grew up getting paid in popsicles, you know.
For doing plumbing work?
Yeah. I'd go help my dad pull a toilet and they'd be like, here's your money and here's your popsicle. Yeah, just be like, fine.
Flip me a 20, dude. Come on.
I was like 6 years old helping my dad pull toilets and stuff. And of course, I couldn't pick it up, but like I unbolt it and unscrew the
Okay.
supply.
Nimble hands.
Yeah,
Hands again. Yeah.
everything came from the
Yeah,
hands.
dude.
So these are the money makers. I should probably get these insured.
You probably should.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're damn
But
good with the guitar, dude.
thank you, buddy. I
Were you playing music at that point when you
no,
were
that came in Arkansas. Well, yes, yeah, essentially. That came in Arkansas when I was like 13 or 14.
okay?
And I got caught skipping school with my buddy. And we were like going to go and get like a sandwich from the gas station. And my dad was on his lunch break and drove by us and was like, oh, hell no.
Oh no.
So he pulled over and my buddy was on a bike and I was on foot and we were just like cooked at that point. And he took a picture of us and posted it on his Facebook and was like, caught my son skipping school. And he took us back into the freaking office and was like, just found these two truants. And I came home from the rest of the school that day and my Xbox was gone.
Oh,
And I was just like at 13 or 14. And I was like, fuck, man. And he was like, all you can do is practice music or read a book for the next like 3 months. It's like that, it was belt to ass. Like,
wow. That's a good punishment.
yeah, and then I mean, I was
Maybe didn't see it at the time, but
at that point I had experience playing trumpet, trombone, baritone, and euphonium. So all brass instruments. My dad was a bass player in Memphis before I was born.
okay.
So he had like bass guitar gear from like when he was a musician. And I kind of took to that. I was like, I read books for like a day and a half and was like, I'm bored as hell. and I don't want to pick up my fucking trombone.
Yeah.
And I uh I was like, Dad, show me a scale. So he taught me how to play bass and over the next like month and a half. And I was a bass player for about a year and was like learning like Led Zeppelin and that kind of thing. And um from there I feel like I was dexterous enough on my hands to where I could fly around the bass pretty good. And I was like, I'm young enough. I think I can learn how to play the guitar. I want to play
Okay.
some of the flashy stuff. So then,
You're like 14, 15 now?
yeah, 14, 15.
Okay.
And I, um, I had a little bit of Christmas money tucked up and we went to a pawn shop in Alma, Arkansas, which is like an hour south of Bentonville. And I bought this Epiphone Futura Prophecy electric guitar and it was definitely stolen, dude. It had the serial number scratched off.
Oh,
It was only $200. It's like a $1,200 guitar right now, but it
God.
has no serial number. It's gotten scratched off. It was between that and an SG, but the SG was purple, and I was like, nah, give me the red. I want the red Futura Prophecy. Looks like an Epiphone Explorer or a Gibson Explorer for those who know.
You still have it?
Yeah, I gave it to my
Nice.
dad for Christmas last year.
Oh, no, you didn't,
I
dude.
did. I
That's
was like,
awesome.
here, Merry Christmas.
Yeah,
Take this
good.
guitar.
Nice.
So I mean, I have like seven now. So
Really?
yeah.
Okay.
But I was just like, here, take that and fix it up if you want to. And he's got it hot rodded now. And
Nice.
yeah, it's not just a cheap $200 guitar anymore.
So
But
you started playing the electric guitar at 14, 15,
yeah.
and you found out you liked that a lot more than the bass?
Mhm. Oh yeah.
What do you
It
like more about it?
just grabbed me more.
Yeah.
I liked being in like the front side of things. And
Mhm.
also I learned how to sing and play on that guitar. It took like 3 years. It's hard to get it synced up where you can focus on playing something and then focus on singing.
Mhm.
Because like there's some people that can just play.
Yeah.
There's some people that can just sing. But syncing those two up when they don't necessarily line up perfectly every time is the big struggle.
So what was your first song that you got down? You were like, somebody says, "All right, Rob, play us a song." What
Oh
was your go-to?
man. On bass, it was The Ocean by Led Zeppelin.
Okay.
And then on guitar, I want to say it was Wish You Were Here
Really?
by Pink Floyd because my dad's dad was like never in the picture until he wanted a kidney.
Mhm.
But he always loved that song.
Okay.
And I remember my dad was studying for his master plumbing exam in Arkansas, like book open on the pool table in the game room that we had. And I came upstairs and was like, Dad, I just learned my first guitar solo. And I was like, wish you were here. And I don't really play that song ever live anymore, but that was probably the first one that I
Okay.
learned with the solo and can recall
When did you get into country music?
when I left Arkansas.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It took me moving from Arkansas to Greensboro, North Carolina before I was just like something is hitting here.
Were you in the city in Greensboro?
Yeah. So it took a country boy moving to the city to realize, okay, I can appreciate a little bit of this country stuff. I Morgan Wallen kind of got me into it, like the poppy countryside, and then I started exploring like the country roots and like old Hank and
Mm-hmm.
and even Hank Jr. and that kind of stuff and DAC and then like more like the Co Wetzel side of things and just that's when I really started diving into the country stuff. But I mean, even then, I'd still like listen to a lot of blues because I feel like blues at the heart of me is like home.
Mm-hmm.
Memphis home.
Yeah.
I only lived there for 2 years, but I feel like the Memphian connection there is like blues will always be a part of my life. Like I love Stevie Ray Vaughan
Mm.
and like Albert King and like Robert Johnson and Son House and all the old blues stuff. I really have always had an appreciation for and yeah.
All the good music now has come from that. That's
Yeah, it
really
all
cool.
it's all descendant.
Yeah. My buddy was he was 'cause I started Well, I've taken a break since then, but I started trying to learn how to play guitar. Got to get back to it. But when I was first learning, my buddy was like showing me all these guys that you were saying. Oh, I was like, dude, I'm never going to be that good. And he was like, no, you're not. But that's not the point. And then
That's not what.
he went through like the lineage of blues and just simple chords, how
Yeah.
they started flowing together, and then how you build a song out of that. And then he would transition from those songs into like newer songs.
Mhm.
And there's a quote for you ever seen the movie A Star is Born?
Yeah, I
The
love
new
that
one with
movie.
Bradley Cooper? So
Yeah.
good. It'll rip you apart. But
Yeah.
there's a cool line in there that Sam Elliott says where he's like about 12 notes or something. It's like every song's made out of these 12 notes and it's the artist's decision for how they put them together. Something like that.
All puzzle.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's how it like that's when it clicked when he was showing me that stuff and that quote came to my head and I was like, damn, it really is like you just got to figure out how to
Yeah.
put it together.
So my uncle died when I was 12. We lived in my dad and my sister and I lived in like a two-bedroom apartment. Like he'd sleep on the couch to like just to be able to provide for us. And my dad's uncle died and he was pretty pivotal in my dad's life. And um he left my dad the house that he lived in for he'd lived there for like damn near 40 years. He was a hoarder, but he hoarded records.
Oh, nice.
He had like 10,000 albums. He had like 45s and 78s, like pre World War II 78s.
No.
And this room, if I could paint it, all the walls were shelves with records on them. There was a poker table, a pool table in there, and a 1957 jukebox that didn't work, and like a couch and a corner bar. And this like freaking, it had like wood paneling on the walls,
Oh my
and it
God.
was just like dingy carpet.
Sounds like the greatest
And
room ever.
it was a hell of a room. That's where I
Oh
started doing music. It was up there.
yeah.
And man, that was a hell of a room.
I would spend a lot of time in that room, I feel like.
I cataloged over a summer every record in that room. Yeah. Because before I'd gotten a job, I was like 14 or 15 at that point, and my summers I couldn't work, but I'd sit up there and I'd toss a record on, just a random record, and listen to it and like price catalog in these notebooks every record. And then when I turned 18, I fixed up. It was a Wurlitzer 1957 2104 104 selection jukebox. Hadn't worked since the 80s. A buddy of mine and me took it apart. We fixed it up and got it to run. My dad actually cried
Dude, I
when we
bet.
did that.
Brought it back to life.
We brought it back to life. It still works.
Oh my
When my
goodness.
dad moved from Arkansas to Memphis in 2020, the last time I went over there, I plugged it in and fired it up and it kicked on still. It's still got the original speaker, so it sounds like ass, but it sounds kind of blown, but
Damn, dude.
it works now. And I fixed that thing up and I segued that into a job when I moved from Arkansas to Greensboro. I segued that into a job at a record store. I went to every record store in town in my first week and was like, hire me. I know my records
Yeah.
because I've filtered through all these records, and priced them all out. And I can work on turntables and jukeboxes and stuff. And the last one I showed up to was called Buffalo Boogie Records. It's still in Greensboro. Um, Old man Mike, I got to talking to him, and he was like, "You're a musician, and you know how to work on those. I need to hire you to play on the news tomorrow for the 50th anniversary of Woodstock. The news channel is coming to do a special on our record store at 8 a.m. You need to be here by 7 to get ready for it." I blew that. It was so bad because I went home that night and he was like, "You need to learn a couple songs from Woodstock." So I did. I learned like four. I like Creedence Clearwater Revival. He wanted something that was not like Jimi Hendrix or Creedence. He wanted something that was like less popular. This guy grew up around the Woodstock generation. So I did Going Up the Country by Canned Heat. And or no, I did I did learn that song, but I did The Wait by the band.
Okay.
But I learned 4 songs and had less than 24 hours to get it down. And man, they didn't even have me mic'd up properly either. It's not like they put the little clip on or like had like a mic for the guitar. It was just acoustic and it sounds like terrible. You can find it on the internet if you look up
No,
Rob Davis, WFMY News 2. Watch that and then watch some of the more recent stuff I've done, and you'll be like, yeah, this guy's come a long way.
that's sick.
But he hired me after that to work at the record store because he couldn't even pick up a box of records. So like I was kind of the pack mule.
Yeah.
And it's just I would carry the records and put them on the shelves and stuff for him because he was like 70,
Okay. Dude, what a
frail.
thing to walk into.
And yeah, at the same time that I worked there, I was also a team lead at Target. And then COVID hit, so I stopped doing music. And I didn't end up doing music until 2023 after that. But during COVID, I just worked at Target during, prime mask territory. And
Yeah.
I'd get there at like 4 a.m., unload the truck, and then like walk around the store and like
Make sure everybody was 6 feet apart. Stiff arming people.
at that point, it was like before the store had opened and we were like I I was like stocking toilet paper every day for, because it was be off the shelves. And like my boss, the executive team lead would be like, you need to make sure that that gets done priority.
Mhm.
So I'd like disperse my little employees off to do their thing. And, it was a great job. I love Target. And it's funny because I grew up in the town where Walmart was headquartered and founded.
Yeah.
Like I'd smoked pot on Sam Walton's grave in high school. And like I'm out here working for Target. Like I moved to Target and like got that job because I was like, I hate Walmart. You grow up with a blue collar single parent family in Bentonville, Arkansas, and it's like you're seeing people pull up to high school in a Ferrari or G wagon, and I
Mhm.
had a $900 farm truck. It was a 1994 F-150.
Dang.
It was like blue green with a black tailgate I got from a scrap yard.
Oh yeah.
And like
Chug a lugging.
chugga lugga. It was a manual too, and it's just like I didn't really like the way that I was treated pretty good because I was social over there and I played football. But I just something about it rubbed me the wrong way. So I was like, I'm gonna work my ass off for Target. And I moved from Arkansas to North Carolina because obviously I wanted something better for my family, my future wife and kids. So I got to thinking one night, I was like, I need to do something with my hands. So I looked at schools like colleges. My dad wouldn't even fill out my FAFSA.
Hmm.
So like I had no chance of going to college. I looked at colleges here in North Carolina and I decided one day, like App State's got a top 15 construction management program, and my mom lives in Greensboro. I've got family in Charlotte and Winston-Salem. I'm going to move to North Carolina and try and make my life better. And
And this was what year was this?
2019. So I did the head chef for a year. The restaurant since collapsed, like after all of that. Like they went down. He must have been so high that he hired the wrong head chef and the place just tanked.
None of your football buddies were there anymore.
They
The
were
keep it
there. They
going.
were they were working, but they weren't
Weren't in charge.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But the restaurant collapsed pretty quick after I left. And
How was it when you were there? Not to get off
it was
track, but
good. I mean, we were doing good business. Everybody was making good money.
nice.
So
So you come to North Carolina.
I looked up
Mm.
App State, found they had a great program, and then moved in with my mom and saved up money for a year and a half and worked at the record store and Target. I did music out here in Greensboro for I want to say 5 months before COVID hit, and then I just kind of stayed mission oriented against like the you know adversity that COVID brought on. COVID was a tough time for a lot of people. I was getting up at 4 a.m. with a mission of I'm going to save up money to put myself through college.
Right.
So I did, and just woke up every day with a smile and was ready to kick Walmart's ass.
Dude, I loved
So
I loved I ain't gonna say I loved COVID, but I loved who I was able to be during COVID. That makes sense. 'Cause I feel like we had the same mindset during that because I worked more. during 2020 than I ever had before.
Yeah,
It was crazy, but
it was
it was great being able to.
the essential worker
Yeah,
vibe.
buddy.
That was so fun.
Oh yeah, I had to put a when it first started, I was at a tree removal company,
Yes.
and we would I was getting up about 4:45 and then driving 30 minutes there. And when they started putting the regulations on for when you could be out.
Oh yeah,
Do
the
you remember that?
curfews. Yeah, I
How
remember the
freaking
curfews.
stupid that was?
I
Like, you
was
can't
breaking
be
the
on the
curfew
road.
every morning to go to work, but
Yeah,
then
same.
I never got stopped. But hey, I could go 35 over the speed limit if I wanted to
Right. Nobody's
in the
there.
city because nobody's out.
No. But
Yeah.
we got a it was like something you could print off of a government website that my
Uh-huh.
boss gave all of us. They were
Yeah.
like, put this on your dash,
Uh-huh.
check off, essential work or whatever
Yeah.
it was, and you keep it up there. If you get pulled over, just show them that,
Yeah.
and you're good.
Uh-huh.
So we were leaving like if we got off like at a late day and it was 10 till 5, it was like 5 o'clock or 6 when you couldn't be out.
Yeah.
Didn't make sense. And so I'd be like, oh my God, dude, what if I get pulled over because I'm working? But it never happened, but it was just so ridiculous.
They never pulled up. They never pulled me over
No.
either. But
Yeah, dude, it was a wild time. But so North Carolina, you're here. You play a few months in Greensboro
yeah.
doing gigs.
Yeah. The last gig that I had booked was McCall's Irish Pub, third floor rooftop bar for St. Patty's Day.
Oh,
This COVID, it was 2020 and like March of 2020. And they called me a week before and they were like, hey, we're canceling all our gigs.
yeah.
I was like, damn, because I was set to clean up, St. Patty's Day.
Oh man.
Everybody would be hammered. I'd made a hell of a money on tips.
hmm Dude, that
So,
would have been sick. So did you play any more during 2020?
no,
Yeah.
hiatus.
You
I,
started
I
back
was
up.
at that point, I was back in my mom's garage just practicing again and just writing here and there. And
Have you always had like I guess it's raspy. It's hard to describe your voice. It's very unique.
it developed.
Okay.
It definitely developed. I mean, when I was in high school, I was in a band and we'd cover Led Zeppelin and like that old, like classic rock stuff and like even the grunge stuff too.
hmm
So, like, I think I had it in me the whole time, but I think that I was really working on my range at that point, and it wasn't really the rasp. It was just like I would try and like emulate those guys, because that's kind of how I learned. I never took any vocal lessons or anything. It was just like cut a song on while you're driving or like on a road trip or just like up in the game room, just
hmm
messing around with the records and just like try and sound like those guys.
So
And
who was it that you kind of, I know you said Led Zeppelin, but where it developed into now? Like, who was it that you were trying to emulate and you were like, you called a little something? You were like, oh, I can do that. I like how that sounds.
I don't even remember.
Really?
No, I don't know. I listen to so much different music. I listen to indie and stuff too, and the like thing Peach Pit. And it's just I've gotten to the point where I can cut the rasp on and off.
Okay.
If I'm sick, the rasp is all there, but the range isn't. But like if if like my voice is totally there, then it's like I can cut it on and cut it off.
Okay.
It's kind of like a tightening here, like, like, but
Yeah. It always the first time I heard you, I was like, oh, his voice is going to break. He's not listening. But it just kept going. And I was like, oh, shoot. Okay. All right. But somebody came up a couple weeks ago when you were playing and they were like, you probably saw it when it happened. Her boyfriend went to the bathroom and she came up to me and she was like, what is his name? I told her and she was like, how does he sound like Tyler Childers and Zach Bryan? And I was like, I don't know. He's just like that, I guess. But it is like it's some middle ground between those, I think. But it's also those are the songs that you're
yeah.
playing. So you would kind of expect it to sound sort of like that.
Mhm.
But
I think I do remember that because her boyfriend went to the bathroom and they were about to leave, and she
hmm
was standing there at the end of the walkway out of the restaurant, and
yeah,
she came up and talked to you. I look at everybody when I'm playing.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah,
I see it.
I observe.
Searching around. I got you.
I can kind of tell who's gonna tip too,
Yeah.
especially in a college town. It's like, yeah, I'll make eye contact with all the college kids and stuff, but then it's like I see like a table at the far back of the restaurant, and it's like the whole family's turned to look
Hmm.
at me, and I'm like, yeah,
Oh
like,
yeah.
they're about to send their daughter up with 20. Yeah,
Yeah, no, it's cool because that's a big thing, being able to build that connection
yeah.
because you're with the audience too. You're making eye
I'm with
contact.
them, but I'm also zoned out a lot of the times.
But I just mean like you're not just closed doing it just for yourself. Like you're still putting on a show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I do hit a point where I'm two or three songs in, and I just click,
Mm,
and it's like I'm making eye contact with people, but I'm locked in. I hit this like flow state, like
hmm.
the Japanese talk about it a lot, especially in like martial arts and like meditation. You hit a flow state with music, and from there, it's just everything else is back burner. I
Hmm.
guess like everything is back burner
Oh yeah.
because you're not even focused on what you're saying or like what you're doing. It's just happening,
Yeah.
and you get to that point where it's just, like I forgot I even had a mic in my hand.
Yeah. I told you.
So you hit that kind of flow state, and it's just like you hit it.
Hmm.
You know?
It happens with this. It happens with writing, anything creative.
Yeah,
You can just access it.
by far.
And all you got to do is get out of the way.
Hmm.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Do you like Sturgill Simpson?
love him.
You know that
I
song?
I saw him and Tyler Childers the week before COVID hit. They did the lockdowns. That was the same week I saw Post Malone too.
Wow.
Yeah.
We.
So Tyler Childers was opening for Sturgill in Charlotte. And I also saw Post Malone that same week because I was like, they're about to shut us down, dude. I need to go out and do something to make me feel like human
Yeah.
before it stops. Because there's no telling how long this is going to last. So I went and dropped like 300 bucks on concert ticket. And my cousin was supposed to come to that concert with me. So I picked up like a little thing of beer and it just, she ended up bailing. And I was like, fuck, I have all this beer and I'm 20 years old. I better not get caught with it.
Better make it
Right down
disappear.
the hatch, dude. I'm not proud of that, but it happened.
Hey man, I bet you had a good time.
Well, here's the crazy thing, though. I showed up to the wrong arena. Like, it was at the Spectrum Center. I showed up to Bojangles Coliseum, parked, sat there, drank like half the beer, walked up to the ticket office, and they were like, "We have a hockey game going on here," and I was like, "Ah, fuck, man, I'm cooked."
They're not playing music, are they?
And then they were like, "You better catch an Uber to the fucking other venue," and I was like, "Yeah, you're probably right." So,
Dang. You get there late?
yeah, I drove.
Of course.
That's not something I'm proud of, but yeah, it happened.
Yeah.
I ended up driving the Spectrum and then paying like $30 to park, and then showed up halfway through Tyler Childers' set.
Oh,
It was just like, ah,
dang. How was it? Was it a good show?
from what I remember.
Okay. Good deal.
Yeah.
What's your favorite concert you've been to?
Oh man, I've seen so many. I've seen so many. I went to Hangout Music Fest in Gulf Shores for my 22nd birthday. Got to hang out with a buddy of mine from high school who was in a band there, and saw another band that I tried out for in 2020 peak COVID, but didn't get the spot. They actually didn't give the spot to anybody, and like when they started back touring, they gave the spot to like somebody who's not even technically a member, but like he's been touring with them for like 3 years.
Do you want like in your future, do you see yourself doing music long term?
If it happens, I wouldn't blame.
What are you
I,
thinking though? Because you're from the
I've
stories you've
got
been saying, it sounds like you're very like long term goal oriented.
Yeah, I'd love to do music. I love music. Always have. I remember when I was like 4 and 5 years old, and my dad would like toss on a Van Halen record. That was the first concert I ever saw. He tossed on a Van Halen record, 1984, and was like, "Listen to this." I'd love to do music though, but I'm gonna try my best to do the music. But realistically, I have two other backup plans
Yeah.
that are like I'd be fine if that happened, but I'd love to do the music. Right now I'm a plumber, even though I swore I'd never be one. and I've got a job opportunity in Charlotte for this summer to be a project engineer on luxury apartments down there.
Oh, nice.
So that's what I'm gonna do over the summer, and I don't have any doubt that they'll hire me. You know,
Are you still going to pursue gigs this summer?
oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I've been reaching out to places in Charlotte. I'm not gonna name drop anybody,
No.
but I'm it's some there's some stuff in the works.
How does that
So
work? Is it the same thing you did like with the chef, where you just like make a meal, but this is just like play a couple songs, see if we like you?
no,
Or can you send them stuff now?
you just have to send them like a portfolio, pretty
Okay.
much. But it's a lot of emails and then a lot of calling them and being like, "Hey, did you get my email?" And
Hmm.
then they're like, "The guy that you're looking to talk to is not here, so you got to call back again." And then you call and they're like, "Hey, I'm busy." It's you kind of have to harass them, but just like borderline.
Yeah, you
You
can't push them away.
you don't want to like annoy them, because then they'll be like, "Oh, screw this guy." But you just want to make sure you're like, "Hey, did you get that?" And follow up. Follow up with everything. Jobs, follow up. Every application you send out, make a list of the companies and follow up with every single one of them. You'll find gainful employment in a week,
Yeah.
guaranteed. If you send out 30 applications and you follow up with every single one of them, somebody's going to hire you.
Mhm.
There's no excuse not to work.
And I feel like that doesn't, I know it's still taught, but I feel like our generation just doesn't do it a lot because we don't overall like talking to people because we're just so far removed from it,
I guess, yeah.
where it puts you a step ahead if you're just like, hey, I submitted an application, just let you know I'm still looking for the job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Easy stuff to do.
yeah,
Yeah. So I know you've been writing songs lately.
yeah, a little bit.
Have you always written your own stuff, or did you just focus on playing what you could to begin with?
It's hard to release stuff because I don't want my family to look at me a certain way. And
Okay.
I don't want them to see the personal side of what I write. So it's been hard for me. I've been battling do I release that? Like, I always think, what would my grandmother think if she heard me
Mm,
singing about this? And
yeah.
it's just like, that's kind of been kicking my butt, but I've got a lot recorded at home and I want to take that and get it professionally done.
Yeah.
Um, Everything comes from the heart. It's, it's all personal. But I mean, there's some songs that aren't as personal. It's like, I was just feeling this way in this day.
Yeah.
But I'm nervous that I'm gonna like hurt somebody's feelings if I release something, or like I'm pretty considerate about like what other people think, and that's something as an artist that I'm gonna have to eventually just get over.
Yeah. I was about to
And
say, do you think that's a good thing?
no,
Yeah.
I think that caring too much is, I don't know, because somebody else could find something meaningful in what you write, and it's just like they could connect with that, and that could be what they need to hear. But I don't want to like if I write a heartbreak song about somebody and it's really personal, I don't want them to be hurt. Even though I feel like they would be hurt because they're hearing how I was feeling.
But I don't know. I think that's also a great way to not directly communicate with them, or you get to indirectly communicate with them.
It's
Does that
just
make sense?
it's tough. It's
I get
tough.
it. Like
I
no, I get it because I had the same thing with the podcast where when I first started, I would just talk about anything and everything. I didn't have a barrier because I needed that because
yeah,
there was nobody. Well, I could have those conversations with people, but for whatever reason, when you put a microphone down in front of somebody, they're just more willing to talk. It just happens. And so I found my flow state there
yeah,
where I was just like, oh, we can talk about it. Nothing's off limits. Let's do this. And
yeah.
so I didn't put any limits up on it. And I had that thing where I was confronted by close people to me, and they were like, I can't believe you said this kind of stuff. And I was like, so I am. I don't know what to tell you. I respect it, but it's definitely very difficult uh to realize and to accept that not everybody's got to like you, but if you can just keep respect with them and they keep respect with you, it's like you can appreciate who you are.
I think that's a good lesson that I need to learn and work on because I don't know. I've got a couple heartbreak ballads that I think that I should toss out there, but I don't want to offend anybody. They were great to me when I was with them,
Yeah.
but I kind of want to say what I want to say.
Yeah, you
And
gotta I think it's the same thing with which us men are the best at it, is just keeping everything to ourselves and just suppressing it and then one day letting it explode, go out. My buddy that I actually just did a podcast with, uh Joshua, he he put it into words. He was like, uh it's like, yeah, I just let it build up every couple years. It's just an ugly scene. It's like, okay, dude, every couple years.
yeah, pop off quick,
Yeah,
dude. Yeah.
yeah. So maybe, let it speak through the guitar
Yeah.
and let it go. It'll be good for your health.
Yeah.
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 So how many songs of your own do you have now?
Probably like nine.
Okay. You got
Nine. How many do I think are ready to be released? Probably four or five.
okay.
But I've got a mile long list of like song ideas and starters, and like sometimes I'll just be like laying there at night and something will pop in my head and I'm like, oh, that's a great lyric. So I'll
Mhm.
just jot that down in there and I'll let it marinate, you know, bringing the cooking metaphors back in, but I let it marinate in the bag for a little while and then
Yeah.
I'll just I'll sit down and start writing something new and then I'll be like, okay. I write all of my new stuff in one thing. It's called Every Cowboy's Got His Pack of Reds.
Mm.
And
Hey, there's a song right there.
I'll that's just pretty much just the song starters list or like any ideas that pop up in my head. I'll put it in there and then I'll sit down and either write something new or try and start something new if I've got just a powerful enough idea, or I'll look back in that and come across something. I'm like, oh, I'm feeling that today.
Yeah.
So let's work on that. And then I'll work on that till it runs out of steam and I'll keep scrolling and find something else. And then when I've got a song done completely, I'll write it down in pen in a notebook.
I was gonna ask if you put pen to paper.
I do put pen to paper,
That's when it happens.
but it's pen is permanent.
It is.
So I better be happy with what I've got before I put it in ink.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to get a tattoo if you are going to regret it.
Mm,
But I think that's the point where I'm like, okay, I've got a song.
okay.
So,
I got you, man. You gonna
yeah,
play a few today?
yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
I'm looking forward to that, dude. I like hearing you play. Talented guy.
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
You want to do a cookie jar conversation?
sure. Let's send it.
Let's do it. All right, just mix them up and pull one out. We'll see what we get.
I feel like I'm grabbing like fortune cookies right now. I don't even think this one qualifies right now.
You can still read it and we can
It,
discard it.
it says name the first letter of your crush.
Oh, that's lame.
Well, I'm trying to work on myself right now, so
Yeah,
I just came off of a relationship that I thought was going to last a whole lot longer than it did. So she moved to Denver, and that's something I've been working through. So I'm really just trying to work on myself, and I'm sure she's doing her own thing up there. Probably she's probably got a guy. If I had to say, she's probably got a
yeah,
guy. But
probably.
I'm going to work on myself for a little while and keep moving.
That's what you got to do,
So
man.
so
Sometimes you got to sit in the hurt a little bit.
yeah, she probably got a man up there by now. So it's only been like 3 months. Sure, she found somebody within
You
five
think?
weeks. I think. Wow, that one's a fucking terrible idea too. Any ideas on how to get back together with an ex?
Oh my God, no way.
I kid you not, dude. Somebody's going through some real pain at home. They're like, "Tell me who you love.
Tell me how to get them lovers
Tell
back.
me who you love. How do I get them back?"
Write a
Yeah,
good song, right?
yeah. No, I mean, yeah. These are song
See
starters.
if we can go 3 for 3 on
Yeah,
the love train.
yeah. Yeah, just work on yourself.
Yeah,
Thoughts on smoking?
there we go.
Smoking what?
That's the question.
I I use nicotine and I'm not proud of it. I stopped smoking weed when I moved to North Carolina because I wanted something better for my life. And um, I mean, weed makes me scared now. I'll whisper at you that I'm hungry. Just be like, "I'm hungry. Please feed me."
Yeah.
But I get really quiet if I'm high.
That's how I was too.
But yeah, I mean, my ex stepdad smoked meth. And yeah, that's a whole other thing.
There you go.
He owned four businesses in Tennessee. He owned he owned four pawn shops, uh, construction company, a maid service, and a limo company. And he started dating my mom, who was a pharmacist, and everything was great, you know. And he ended up being abusive and like hitting me. He hit me so hard and like knocked me into a bowl of chili, my head into a bowl of chili one time. That was the last time like was like that was the final straw. I was like, I'm not coming over to visit my mom anymore if you're gonna be here.
How old were you?
13 or 14.
Oh my
I
God.
wasn't 6'6" then.
Yeah.
He's 5'11". But yeah, man, I mean, he's still on the grind. He's still smoking meth.
Shout out to him.
My mom left him, and she's the she's probably the strongest woman I know in my life, and she she stuck with it thick and thin, trying to like make him better because he wasn't on meth and like that kind of thing when they met. And um I've got a half sister, and she tried to make it work and tried to like save him, you know, and um she ended up in a homeless shelter, and they had no money, so she couldn't renew her pharmacy license, so she couldn't work. And she scratched and clawed and like left him and scratched and clawed and got herself back on stable feet. So,
Hang on.
she's the strongest woman I know.
Yeah, man, that's amazing.
So if you're smoking meth, that's a no-go
Yeah,
because you're
stop
gonna tear. Yeah, stop
it.
the meth. But I mean, if you smoke weed, do your own thing. If you smoke nicotine, do your own. Do your thing. I'm not proud of smoking nicotine. I'm cutting back.
Okay.
It's something I picked up when I was younger. And I stopped smoking weed. When I moved to North Carolina, because my mom was like, if you move out here and you get caught with weed, I'm going to lose my job because I sell controlled substances at the pharmacy.
Hmm.
So if you get caught with a controlled substance, I'm going to lose my job. And I was like, okay, well, I came out here to make myself better. The weed's going to stop.
There you go.
So I stopped smoking weed, and
I feel like it's a pretty easy one to quit.
it was.
Yeah.
I started going to the gym more, and
Yeah.
well, yeah,
You sweat a little bit, it's no big deal.
yeah,
Yeah. Get over it quick. Um, you want to do one more?
yeah. Let's do it.
Then we'll let you play some tunes.
Any ideas on how to get back together with an ex? Part two. I mean, all right, I'll
That's
address that.
wild. I think we have to. That's
If
two.
you really want to, just reach out to them. Um, I don't know that I'm the best guy to talk about it because I haven't gotten back with any of my exes. You know, just talk to them. Circumstantially, distance has killed two of my relationships. 22 hours away is far, even though it was only going to be that far away for a couple of months. You know, she wanted out, so and I took that as an opportunity to try and just work on myself. And um, the one that was 3 hours away, you know, hindsight's 2020. It was good. I don't have anything bad to say about her other than we'd have our occasional, not seeing eye to eye. But I feel like I've always been a sweetheart, and just if you want to get back with your ex, it takes talking to them
Yeah.
about things. Reach out to them and just say, "Look, this is how I feel, and this is how I've been feeling." And you can take the time that you've spent alone to reflect on the relationship and how you can be a better partner. I would say would be the best way to go about that because I've thought just how can I make myself better um, for that person and
Yeah.
just be a better person for myself and my future family and like if that's something you want, go for it.
Yeah.
I say go for it. You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take.
Yeah.
So send it. Somebody's been asking two people or yeah,
It might be the same
it might be the
person
same person
because
just
we hadn't
really
answered it
wanting to
yet.
get in there.
Yeah.
But just send the shot. It doesn't hurt. Just text them or call them. And if they're not receptive to calling, it doesn't hurt to write a couple letters. Go old fashioned and just send to them the old fashioned way and just tell them what you've been doing and tell them that you've been reflecting. And, um, I mean, I'd really thought about sending some letters, but
Yeah.
that's how I'd go about it is I'd send a letter. I'd go buy a bottle of Maker's Mark and I'd get that wax. I'd get that red wax and I'd melt it on to seal the letter just to add some of that romantic flair
You
to
are a
it.
sweetheart, dude.
Get some red wax and just stamp something sweet in there and melt that wax and stamp it and then just send it off.
Wow.
Old fashioned.
That's good stuff.
But that's if they won't answer your texts or your calls and like I haven't tried,
Yeah.
but that's just because I've been working on myself and
I think that's the important thing to do is because I think it's hard sometimes to see your faults when you're in the relationship. And then once it's over, all that you can do is reflect. But you start thinking back, just like, what did I do wrong? What did they do wrong? What did I do right? What could I do better? And it starts rushing back to you, and you're like, see where I messed up.
nobody is ever a finished piece of work.
Yeah.
It takes time to work on yourself and nobody's ever a perfect statue. The art's done at the end of the road, but you can always improve 1% every day. And
Yep.
that's something I've been reminding myself a lot is this time being single and being is just time to work on me. I'm not done. I've got time to work on my music and my art and myself and get ready for the love that I'm going to find.
Yep.
And that's all you can do.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I don't know. I think hopping into something quick just means that you're trying to cope or cover
Mm-hmm.
or, you know, just means that you're not ready to address some things that you've been facing.
I think you're right. I think,
So,
yeah. You jump from one ship to another, but you never took time to swim.
yeah,
You know?
yeah, it's piracy at that point.
Yeah, dude, you're a Somalian
You
pirate.
toss that plank over and you're like, "Hey, baby,
Yep.
let
Just
me
one of
ride
those.
that. Let me ride this ship for a
Yeah.
while."
Yeah. Then that one starts going down. So you try to
Yeah,
jump back to the other one, but it sailed away.
but you don't know how to swim at this point. You need to know how to swim.
Mm-hmm.
You've been on boats your whole life. You need to learn how to swim.
Oh man, that was beautiful. Nice. I like
Maybe you're
that.
gonna come across a canoe. You've been on some yachts. That's
Oh my goodness, dude, we should end with that. That was so good.
that's my cup of tea.
It's your whole life. Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
Good stuff, Rob
I can
Davis.
still talk about some more stuff.
You got some more?
Yeah,
What do you want to get into, man?
I came to App State and I graduate in May,
Shout out.
and I think that it's an important lesson to set your goals and finish and follow through. I moved out here on a mission in 2019 to go to App State and study construction management, and I graduate in May. So now's on to the next 5 to 10 year mission and just follow through with your missions. You're going to have hard times. I've had a whole lot of ups and a whole lot of downs. And App State has given and App State has taken.
Mm,
And I've learned a whole lot of lessons. I love App. I love Boone. But just, you know, find something you want to do and pursue it. And think about the next 5 years. Think about your future families. And you're going to have obstacles that you need to overcome along the way. But that will make you the person who you are today. That makes you a better person
yeah.
overall.
Yeah, those hard times will build you for
Yeah,
sure.
I've had, I mean, I've had hard times. You know, I worked throughout college doing construction to pay for my school. You know, I saved up like 25 grand while I was living at my mom's house to pay for my first year and a half at App. And then the rest of the way, I spent a year working for a GC, and that was good. I'd learned how to do a lot, a whole lot, because that was construction in a broad sense. So we were doing like roofing, decks, interior work, flooring, tile, plumbing, electrical, HVAC. We did everything. And then I focused down. I was like, man, this guy's not paying me what I need to make because like the work ran dry a little bit. This guy had me raking rocks in his yard for a week. Yeah, a week of raking the rocks out of his yard. We live in the mountains.
That's a lot.
Keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's a lot of rocks.
The yard was full of rocks.
Wow.
And I was like, man, I need to go make some more money. So I started doing the plumbing. I was like, I called my dad and he was like, go be a plumber. You'll make good money.
Yeah.
And it's been good. You know, I make like a 80 to 110 an hour when I do my plumbing work. And it took me like 2.5 years to get to the point where I was comfortable working for myself and knew I wasn't going to flood somebody's home,
Yeah.
you know, but it's been good. And try and work for yourself too is the big
Mhm.
thing. Be your own boss. And it takes self-discipline to work for yourself. And you know, you're not going to go punch a time clock. You just need to hit that alarm clock, get up and get ready to go do what you got to do,
Yeah.
provide. But that's kind of taught me a lot of lessons.
That's something I've been trying to work on, discipline. Been praying for it and trying to do that. It's a difficult thing to come to, but I'll get there, you know. It takes
Yeah.
some time. But it is just that it's not motivation, you know. You don't have to inspire yourself to go do something. You just have to decide to go do it.
Yeah.
And then you realize like, oh, what was I procrastinating for? It was right there. You just go do it, you know?
Go do it.
Yeah,
Nike hit it on the head with the just do it, didn't they?
they did. They got it down. They should trademark that.
Yeah, yeah, they should,
It's a
shouldn't they?
good one.
Yeah.
You want to play some music now?
Yeah.
Go with that?
Yeah.
You got a lasting message to give the folks at home or in the car?
Keep your head up, keep working hard. You'll find your way. You know, time life's gonna throw things at you. I mean, I've been hit with a ton of just random stuff. Just keep going, keep fighting, keep working hard. Skills always pay the bills. Work on something that you love to do. Work on something that you have talent with. You know, like all of my skills come with my hands. So music and construction work and cooking, all all those skills have paid my bills and allowed me to provide for myself. And I think that we need more people out there working on skills. You know, we've got a lot of people here at App that study psychology and like all of that's fine and dandy. But if you want to make some serious money, think about doing something with some skills.
Yeah. And I think you've got to figure out what you are good at. Um, like obviously, if you want to do something, you can go do whatever. But
Right,
if you're naturally good at something, I think the majority of people are naturally good at something. I just think they don't take the time to figure out what that is.
right.
I think people need to do that to figure out like, okay, I can pursue this. We'll see where it goes. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. But we'll get to the end of the road, and if it keeps going, then we'll keep going. If I need to make a right turn, we'll go there and figure out something else I can work on.
Yeah,
But yeah, dude,
for sure.
I'm glad we got to do this.
Me too. Anytime you
That was
want me back
awesome.
on, let me know.
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
It's so
I liked
fun.
how your nerves went away.
I think I'm pretty eccentric, I'd say. I've got a lot of stories. I
Yeah.
could dive into more stories. We could have a podcast of just crazy stories from when I was smoking pot and doing all these other crazy things, you know.
We'll do it.
So
All right, man. Well, thanks for coming on. Glad we nailed it.
thank you.
And we'll listen to your music now.
Yeah. All right. So you can follow me on Instagram at Rob Davis underscore II. You can find me on TikTok on the same thing. So I'm gonna start posting some original music now that I've kind of found my legs. on that and just kind of acknowledge that I need to start posting some of my own stuff out
Yeah.
there. But this will be the first place that you can hear any of the music that I've got. So, yeah,
Thank you. All right, dude.
Say it like it's easy. Yeah, it rolls right off your tongue. The way you act is different. Baby, the damage is already done. Say you'll always love me. Baby, where you will I fall? Loves a thing you say. That's something you can give it all. That's the thing you say. Love's a thing you say. Ain't always easy calling a bluff, 'cause you think you'll be just fine. Morning comes, sometimes you're caught in the rough, caught in a bind when you think you're living high. Listen down, something you already own. Say it like it's easy. Yeah, it rolls right off your tongue. The way you act is different. Baby, the damage is already done. Say you'll always love me. Baby, where you will I fall? Love's a thing you say. That's something you can give it all. That's a thing you say. Oh, that's a thing you say. Love's a thing you say. It's easy. Yeah, roll right off your tongue. The way you act is different. Baby, the damage is already done. Say you'll always love me. Baby, where you when I fall? Love's a thing you say. That's something you can give it all. That's a thing you say. That's a thing you say. This next song is called Sunshine and Rainbows, and I wrote this after talking to my dad a little over 2 years ago about what to look for in life and love and a wife. My parents are divorced, so I'd take his word heart to heart, and I turned it into this song. So this song's called Sunshine and Rainbows. Sat down the other day with my daddy, fill him in on how I've been lately. Told him life's been getting kind of crazy. Fill him in on the girl I've been dating. Then I looked him right in his eyes, asked him for some advice about life and love and a wife. Then he said with his hand in mine, need to know when to let her walk, need to know when to let her talk. Work hard to provide for your kids, always need money to pay your rent. Try to save up all your pennies, maybe you can retire early. Things ain't so easy after all. Try your best to make the right call. turning. I can see that old fire burning. Looking back on all these years, my old man fighting back some tears. There are things we've all done wrong. Said the years won't last as long. Things aren't always what they seem. If you're gonna learn a lesson, learn from me. Need to know when to let her walk. Need to know when to let her talk. Work hard to provide for the kids. Always need money to pay your rent. Try to save up all your pennies. Maybe you can retire early. Things ain't so easy after all. Try your best to make the right call. Let me tell you something you already know. This world ain't sunshine and rainbows. This world will bring you to your knees. When it does, think of me, saying, need to know when to let her walk. Need to know when to let her talk. Work hard to provide for the kids. Always need money to pay your rent. Try to save up all your pennies. Maybe you can retire early. Things ain't so easy after all. Try your best to make the right call. Right call. When you left me here, you knew what you were doing, and I know that deep down, your life was your choosing. You tangled up my heart, covered it with poison from a goddamn state park. I hope that all the boys in Denver know just how to dance. I know you can two-step on the heart of a man. Take his every breath, every smile, every kiss, every single I love you. One more step to leaving in blue. Rocky Mountain High, there ain't a friend of mine. Forests of Santa Pond, aspen trees and pines. Denver and the rivers, continental divide. Broncos on the prairie, laying a mile high. Colorado, you took her away to the peaks where the wild winds play. She's got a new life in the sky. Swears she's alright. I'm still here, wondering why. Oh, but what was I to you? Beside you then and there, and history disappeared into that thin mountaineer. You drug me through the mud, swore that it was love. Compassion in your actions felt like punching with no glove. You caused me pain, honey, I can hurt myself. But it makes it go away, 'cause whiskey just brings on the rain. You can't put out your fire, desire we once shared. Seems to me like you never cared. Rocky Mountain High ain't no friend of mine. Denver and the rivers, continental divide. Forests of San Juan, full of aspen trees and pines. Broncos on the prairie, playing at Mile High. Colorado, you took her away to the peaks where the wild winds play. She's got a new life in the sky. Swears she's alright. Ghost of me's here, still wondering why. serving time. The man on the platter made of silver and gold. Shark teeth, green, greedy bites right off of my soul. No time to follow dreams, chasing dollars just to make ends meet. Sit and wonder why I feel so goddamn blue. Wanna smell black walnuts on the breeze, read a book underneath the shady tree, take a walk through my grandma's meadow, look at the wildflowers blooming bright yellow, watch the sunset turn the sky bright pink, have time to sit around and think about all the things I would do if only I had the time to. If only I had the time. Bills piled like a mountain on the table that my great-grandfather had made. Sitting in the corners an old guitar that I don't have time to play. Working hard, coming up empty just to keep the goddamn lights on. Sit and wonder why I feel so goddamn blue. Wanna hear the buzz of a neon sign, smoky bars and big blue Texas skies, and play a wine red 35. I wanna take a nice long walk on the beach and feel the Texas ship beneath my feet, and think about all the things I would do if only I had the time to. If only I had the time. Smell black walnuts on the breeze, read a book underneath a shady tree, take a walk through my grandma's meadow, look at wildflowers blooming bright yellow, watch the sunset turn the sky bright pink, have time to sit around and think about all the things I would do if only I had the time. If only I had the time to.
Damn, son.